On today's episode of Strength Coach Tutorials, I'm going to show you how to make this athlete KPI dashboard. Some of the features of this dashboard are down the left-hand side. There's going to be a list box where you can select which athlete you would like to look at, and the graph will automatically update to represent their scores. Down on the left-hand side, there's going to be a spot where you can select which tests you would like to look at, and then a dynamically updating title bar, which as you change the athlete's name will automatically show their profile. So let's get after it. Okay, so we're back and we are going to create this athlete dashboard project. And to start, I've just gone ahead and outlined a few key areas where I'm going to be putting titles and different filters and different bars and things like that. So if you're seeing my sheet, it does not look completely blank right now, but all I've done is I've merged off a place in the middle where I know I'm going to put my graph. I've merged off a place down the left hand side where I know I'm going to put my list box, and then I've merged off two areas where I am going to put my titles for my filters. And then over here on the right hand side, I've put together a spot where I'm going to put all of my lists, and I'm going to show you how I would organize data in a project like this. If I was creating like a bigger dashboard project, I would have multiple kind of ones of these set up for all of the different metrics that I would be looking at. Before we get started, also just a quick reminder that if you're finding any value in these videos or you have ideas for new videos, please like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below with new ideas. And if you could share these videos on social media or with people that you think would find value in them, that really helps this channel grow. And it allows me to put more time towards this type of content so that I can continue to help coaches create things that are useful for them. So if you'll remember from the intro video, I need to set up a few things here. The first thing I want is I'm just going to set up my filters down the left-hand side. And this is really just going to be a bar where I can do all of my selecting of different metrics. I'm going to use today like this gray color, and inside I'm going to put in my athlete select, and I'm going to copy this down here and paste it for KPIs. So these are going to be the two areas where I can actually select my different metrics. And then maybe I'll copy this one more time, paste just the formatting. There you go. So all I've done there is I copied it and then right click paste formatting. And maybe I want in there profile graph, and that's going to be where I'll set that up. Just change the font a little bit so that fits. And then I'm going to block off 4 cells down this way. Let's put a border around them, a thick kind of outside border, and I'll block off 4 cells here, put a border around those, and these I'm going to give that gray color again and give these the title of metric 1, 2, 3, and that's going to be the spot where I'm going to select my metrics. Here I'm going to put in sort of this yellow color, and that in this project is just going to signify anywhere where I have to enter values. Okay, so this is just to set up my different kind of places in my dashboard. And then as a reminder, this video is going to follow the data that we've had from the athlete TSA dashboard video. And what I have is I have 6 different metrics, and I have converted those into Z scores and then T scores. And if you'd like to see how I did that, please refer back to the athlete TSA dashboard video where I will take you through that process. But we've used this data set now in more than a few videos, and I'm going through all the different types of data visualizations you can do with that. So I'll go back to here. And then now I want to set up my list box. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to need to create the list for that list box. So to do that, I'm going to go equals unique. And I know that my table is TBL_data. Open that up. I'm going to select athlete name, close that down, and then finish off the brackets. And what that's going to do, the unique function is an Excel 365, and it is a spilled array function, and it will actually pull out all of the athlete names. So the next thing that I need to do is turn this into an actual name. So if I select the first one, I can go Control-Alt F3, and that will pull up my name manager, and I'm going to call this athlete list, and I want to refer to this whole unique function. So I need to put a hashtag after the AL7 because that tells Excel that I want to refer to the entire spilled array. Hit OK. Okay, so if I go back to the developer tab, And instead of the ActiveX, I want the form controls. So I'm going to pick the list box out of the form control and put that in that cell the same way that we did before. And now if I right click here and go to format control, it's going to open up this box where I can actually put in my values. So I go to control. The input range I want is going to be that athlete list value that we just created. So I type in athlete list there. And then the cell link is going to be where it outputs the value. So I'm going to put the cell link right above my athlete names here on the right side and hit OK. And you can see now what that's done is it's actually populated my list. And as I select an athlete, it's going to pull them out over here on the right side, the different row number that they are in. Okay, so that's an easy way to create that form. Now what I want to do is, depending on what athlete I select, I actually want it to show up in my title bar. So for that, I'm going to use an index function. So I'm going to go equals index, open that up, and the array that I want to look at is TBL underscore data athlete name, close that down, and it's going to ask me what the row number is that I want. And I already know what that is because I'm pulling that out with the list box. So I select this cell, close that off, and hit enter. And as I select a new athlete from the list box, what you can see is it automatically opens up in my title bar. Now, if you remember from the video, I also had some text in there. So I'm going to join some other things with this. So after the index function, I'm going to use the and symbol, quotation mark, and then I want it to say profile. So I'm going to use double dots, space, profile, and then close that quotation mark off and hit enter. Sorry, I want to say KPI profile. Close off the quotations, hit enter. And what you'll notice is whatever the text I put in there, it will add that to it. So maybe we want this to say speed report or KPI profile or power report or whatever we want, but that's an easy way to do that. If I select athlete 19, it's athlete 19's KPI profile. If I select athlete 7, it's athlete 7's KPI profile. So I think that just adds a level of professionalism to your reports and just makes them look a little bit better. So then the next thing that we're going to do is I actually want to be able to select what metrics I want. So if I go down here to my metric selector, I'm going to use a data validation in here, data validation, and I want to use a list. And the list is going to use the indirect function to reference a table column, okay? And the table column is, the table value that I want is going to be headers. So what this looks like is equals indirect, open that up, quotations, TBL underscore data, because that is my table. And then I'm going to open up a square bracket, hashtag headers, because that refers to all of the headers, close the square bracket, quotation, and then close that all off. So what indirect does is it actually takes anything inside and turns it into like a reference. So when I hit OK, what you're going to notice is I'm actually able to reference any of my table headers. So for example, up here, I can reference athlete name, bench press 1RM, squat 1RM, deadlift 1RM, all the way across, okay? So that's an easy way to do that. The way that I set this up, I should just be able to drag this down and it works, but I'll just have to kind of fix my formatting a little bit. So there we go. Now we have a spot where we can actually select our KPIs. For the purposes of this, we're going to use the T-scores. And for a reminder what T-scores are all about, you can go back to the Athlete TSA dashboard video and I go through all of those as well, okay? So now it's pretty simple. We're going to pull out these values over here and then graph them. So what I want to do is whatever metric I pick over here, I just want to pull it over here, and that just gives me an easy way to reference for cells. So I'm just going to put if this cell equals nothing, double quotations, then I want it to show nothing. Otherwise, I want it to show this cell. And close that off, hit enter, and you'll notice that now it shows it, but if I was to delete it, it's going to show nothing. So I'm going to go back to my T bench press, drag this down, should work fine, and then I'll just fix the borders here again. So now we have those pulled out, and now we just have to pull out the values for these. The first thing that we need to do now to pull out our values is I just need to pull out that athlete name one more place. So I'm just going to go equals index TBL underscore data, athlete name, close that off. The row that I want is this row here, close that off. So I just need to pull that athlete name out one more time. So now for this, we can use that index again. So we'll go equals index TBL underscore data. And then the row number that we want is going to be match. The lookup value is going to be here. Where do we want to look it up? TBL underscore data athlete name. Close that off. It's going to ask me what kind of match I want. Well, I want an exact match. So 0. Close that off. So what this is doing is now I'm going to my data table and I'm finding the row that matches this athlete's name. And then the column number that I want is TBL, or sorry, match TBL sorry, the lookup value that I want is this one here. And then TBL underscore data, and then hashtag headers. Close that down. And again, I want an exact match. And I should be able to close this off now, and it should work. So it's pulling out that value. So what we've done here is I'm taking my table data and then matching for the row based on the athlete name and matching for the value based on the metric that we select. The next thing that I want to do is I want to actually round this value. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this in an mRound function. So mRound, open that up. So that's the number that I want. And I'm going to round it to the nearest 1, hit OK. So it gives it a nice whole number. And then finally, I'm going to wrap this in an if error. Okay, so if error, open that up. That's the value that I want. And then at the end, comma. And if it is an error, for this one, I want it to show hashtag n/a. And that's going to give an error value. And I'm going to close that off. Okay, so now if there's nothing there, it's just going to give me an error value. And that's going to be really important when we come to our actual graph. Because the way I set this up, I should be able to drag those down. So that one works well. So then the next thing we have to do is actually now find the max value. So the formula for that is equals max and indirect. And we're going to reference the table based on the metric that we've selected. So quotations, TBL underscore data. Open that up. Another quotation. The and symbol, because we're going to join two things together, and I want to join it with this metric here, so AF7, and then another and symbol, because we're going to join it back to the square brackets, quotation, close square bracket, quotation, and then close that whole thing off, hit OK, and it should pull out my max value. And then the only other thing I want to do with that is I'm going to wrap that in an if statement that if it's blank, that I want it to show an error. So I'm going to go if this cell equals nothing, then I want it to show hashtag n/a, and then close that off. If it's true, I want it to show that max value. I'm going to close the whole thing off. And then the last one we're going to wrap it in is an if error. So I go if error, open that up. And then at the end, quotation, hashtag n/a, close the whole thing off and hit OK. So it should still work. And it should show me NAs. And if any of these are blank, it should be an NA. So I'm going to show you this formula one more time. So what we're looking at here is we're pulling out the max value with the indirect based on the metric we've selected. But if the metric is blank, then just show me an NA value. And then if there's any error at all, just show me an NA value. And I'm going to hit enter. So then it's pretty easy from here. What I have to do is just copy this formula, Control C, and then I'm going to paste it in the min. And now instead of max, I'm just going to put min, because there is a min value, and I'm going to pull that down. And then the last one, Control C. But if I copy the formula, Control C, paste it in here, and now instead of min, I want average, and hit enter, and it's going to pull up my averages. Oh, and you'll notice that this formula here is a little bit messed up. So let's fix this one. Where we are referencing to the name, we want to make sure that we lock that in, because the name's never going to change where it is. So where it's AG4, we want $signs around that, and that locks it in. Hit enter, And if I drag that down, it should work now. Okay, so now we have all of our metrics being pulled in. I'm just going to select 4 sort of metrics so we can see how that works. So there's our 4 metrics. Now the last thing we want to do is actually create our profile graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select value, and I'm going to go to insert, recommended charts, and I'm going to go all charts, line chart, and I actually want a line chart with markers. So I'm going to hit OK, and I pull that over and stick it in this box and drag that out a little bit so it looks kind of bigger. And then from here I can delete the title, and then I'm going to add a few more series. So I'm going to right click, select data. So that's my value series. I'm going to hit add. Series name will add a max series. There's my max series. Hit OK. And then add. I'm going to add my min series. So all I'm doing is it's asking me add, what's the series name? I just select average, and then series values, I select the values, hit OK. And then the last thing I want to do is my horizontal categories. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to hit edit, and I want those to refer to these here. Hit OK. So that's my graph. And as you can see, if we change any of these values, you'll see the charts actually change a little bit. Okay. So now from here, it's just about making this graph look a little bit nicer. The first thing we're going to do is going to go, I want it to show blanks when we don't have any values in there. So it looks like it already is, but I'm going to go to select data. Down here under hidden and empty cells, show NA as an empty cell. Okay, so that's why it was really important that we put the NA values in there, and then we want these to be gaps so that they're not shown on the graph. Okay, so that's one way to do that. Now we just have to edit these actual series. So the first thing we're going to edit is the max series, and I'm going to double click on that so it opens this format data point open, and under line we're going to go to no line. Okay, we're going to make sure it takes the whole thing. We're going to go to no line. Under marker, we're going to give it the color of green because it's going to be our max marker. Sorry, not the border, the fill. We're going to give it the color of green. We want no border. And marker options, we'll go built in, and we want to use this line. And I'm going to make it go up to 20. So you can see now this looks like the line from the original video or the intro. We'll go down to the minimum values, do the same thing. No line, marker, give it a color of red. Marker options, built in, give it the dash, bring it up to 20. So there's our red value. Then for our actual athlete video, we'll do the same thing. Select it, marker options, we'll give it the circle. Bring it up to say 15. Solid fill, we'll give it sort of an orange color. And we'll take the line away. And then the final one is this average bar. So for here, we're going to go marker, no marker, line. We're going to go sort of a red line, transparency, I don't know, 50. Make it kind of a lot smaller. Give it sort of a dash. And now we have this dashed kind of average line. I don't like the way these orange balls look. I'm just going to take the line off around the marker, so no line. So now we just have these normal orange balls. So now what you can see is we've created this graph effect where we have the max and the min value, and then we have our athlete's value that kind of changes depending on what we've selected. Forgot to take the line off this one as well. Okay, so now there's just a couple more things that I like to do to kind of make this look a little bit nicer. Number one is down this right hand side, I'm going to change my axes, or axes I guess, to a max of 100 because we're using T-scores. So that just makes everything look a little bit nicer. Then down here, maybe I change these to Arial black. Bold them out and then make them just a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to delete all of these grid lines, but I'm going to go to chart design, add chart element, And grid lines, we're going to go primary, major, vertical. So that just puts ones in the middle. And now I can make these black. Make them a bunch bigger so we get some separation. Maybe this one down here will make it sort of black and then make it a little bit bigger. So now we got this sort of graph. And then the last one that we're going to do to make this look a little bit nicer is if I select the graph again, I'll select the athlete scores and then go add chart element, and we'll go data label and center. And so what this does now is it puts our actual data label, make it just a little bit bigger, inside of the circles. So now as we select the circles, it'll show the actual athlete score. And I just think that that looks pretty cool. And then one last thing, if you can see this value here, it's sitting behind the bars. If we go to right click, select data, and we just take this one and move it all the way down to the bottom, it becomes the most important, and it'll sit in front of the bars on all of our charts. Okay. So that's how you create this athlete dashboard. We did it pretty quick. And you could easily create more of these data spots on the side of your graph and then pull out more different types of KPIs and do different types of visualizations. Typically, I would have all of these data calculations on another sheet, and they wouldn't be on the same kind of tab as my dashboard. But I just wanted to do that so you could see how to do it. And the final thing that I want to show you is if for whatever reason you only wanted to display 2 KPIs, because we have these NA values here, you can see that it automatically removes those values from the chart. But on the right hand side of the chart here, there's a filter option where I can turn off those 2 values and then just show the 2 that I might be interested in. So that's just a quick way you can make this chart dynamic to show the amount of KPIs that you want to look at for the athlete or for the client that you're looking at. So I hope this video helps you out. And if you found any value in this video, please like and subscribe to the channel and share it with a friend. And if you have ideas for future videos, comment them down below, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.